So how is the music going?
Yeah, it's going really well, man. I made another song after I sent that email to you, and I'm working on the next one. Getting in the flow, mate. It's just, it's exactly what I said in the email, man. It's just exhilarating. It's I feel like a little kid, man. Just,
Really?
you know, just the whole thing about creating a song from scratch. I just find the thing is just exhilarating. I can't think of any other word, man. It's just, it's the most amazing rush.
Okay, so I'm with Richie. Is it Richie Madan or Richie Madden or?
Madan.
Madan. Okay.
Yeah.
Who is a member of Start Now Finish Fast? When did you join? It was a while back, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. So I mean, I've probably joined around mid last year, maybe June or July. I don't think I actually started doing anything until February this year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was consistent with my old pattern, if you like.
So the reason we're doing this interview is because I got an amazing email about, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago or something from Richie, just saying how his life had changed, and that basically, well, how long was it? A 16-year or something like that pattern.
16 long years, mate. Yeah.
has recently been broken. So why don't you just give us a flavour, an idea of where you were for the last 16 years? What have you been? I mean, first of all, you know, what kind of music do you do? What, you know, give us a bit of background about yourself, and then we can talk about what you were doing with your actual music making.
Okay. So I'm a Bollywood DJ. And now music maker. I suppose I'm very well known in the Australian Bollywood scene.
Right.
I've been DJing for 21 years overall. Initially it was a hobby. I went full-time 10 years ago, leaving behind careers in law and IT to do that. With the music making, I first had the idea that I wanted to make my own music around 1997, and I went and invested about 10 grand in this big sort of Mac setup. You know, I thought, here we go, I'm going to make all these songs, and so that was the beginning of all this. I started with that system, and I did have some software issues, so no, there were some logical explanations, but basically I hardly used it, that system. I don't think I hardly spent any time using it. There was hardly any music that came out of that. I even ended up throwing away that 10 grand system after, I don't know, 7, 8 years or something. I just tossed it, you know. Okay, so that was where it all started. I will add that although I wasn't using it, I had started telling people since 97 that I'm working on an album. I started sort of doing the blab to people that, oh, you know, I'm working on tracks, I'm going to be coming out with an album. I went full-time on the DJing side in 2004. And it's interesting, I know you've mentioned this before, that it's that making music or not making music is not about whether you have another day job that you do. So I had this thing which I was saying to myself when I went full-time in 2004, that now I'll have all this time to realise these dreams and, you know, start doing the album and making all these songs. That didn't happen, mate. In a nutshell, it didn't happen. You know, the old pattern of procrastination and whatever else continued. There was a slight relief in 2009 where a couple of guys who do spend a bit of time, they basically as a hobby make music in their spare time. They approached me and said, would you like us to help you out with making music? So in 2009, at that point, I just didn't have any confidence. I think the whole way along this, I was just overwhelmed. I'd buy things and not use them. I had all these tutorials that I'd bought, like from macprovideo.com and wherever else, and I'd actually get a good feeling when I'd go and buy these tutorials. But most of them I didn't watch and still haven't, you know. And even if I did watch them, I didn't go away and make any music after that. So you're getting a bit of a pattern. You're getting a bit of an idea of the pattern here. Yeah. But it's carrying. So anyway, with these guys' help, I did release a track in 2009 on iTunes, um, which, you know, I say I was the producer of that track, but I couldn't have done it without these guys helping me. I didn't have that confidence, basically. So it was more like I sort of had an idea what I wanted. You know, I'd direct the singer, how I want him to sing it. With the music, I didn't have the confidence I can put my hands on a keyboard and play the stuff myself, you know. And after doing that song, I didn't do anything else after that in terms of original music. And even that song, because I didn't do it by myself, I don't have this feeling that it was fully mine.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Although, in many senses, it is, but I understand that feeling. Are you basically saying, in terms of your own confidence, you didn't feel that you'd achieved it yourself?
I didn't. Okay, the rush that I'm experiencing now, every single day, making music, I did get that rush for a few weeks while I worked with one of those guys on that song. So, and I did feel, yeah, this is my track. Although I know that that guy also felt that, geez, you know, I helped this guy a lot and put a lot into this, right? And it was released under my name. So it's not that I didn't feel that it was my track, but I just didn't have any, because I didn't have the confidence even after that. Because again, I didn't do it by myself.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, right. Yeah. You hadn't proved to yourself that you could do it by finishing that track.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. So then you somehow came across my stuff last year.
Yeah.
So at first it seemed that I might be another one of those start now, finish fast might be another one of those tutorials that you didn't take action on in some way. Is that correct?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, obviously there was some hope when I saw your course.
Yes, of course.
Particularly with your background in music production. You know, it was the first time I'd come across a course which is specifically about making music, you know, and by someone who's, you know, done it and been through similar, you know, to some extent similar things himself. But then again, yeah, it was, you know, and you had a money back guarantee, I think, at that time as well, right? And I've done not in making music, but in personal development and other areas. You know, again, it's the same sort of pattern. I've you know, bought personal development courses and not followed them through, or not done them properly. In some of those cases, because one of those things, I saw the money back guarantee, because a part of me was saying, you know, you're going to just buy this program and you're not going to do all the stuff that's in there, right? But when I saw the money back guarantee, I thought, oh, well, there's nothing to lose, is there, really? And I knew from a couple of the other courses where I had been dissatisfied and I'd asked them for the money back and they gave it straight away. They actually kept to the word. So that was kind of a, you know, let's just go for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely not in anyone's interest to not honour that kind of guarantee. You know, that's one of the things I don't understand about a lot of people that talk about anyone does anything online. It's like people talk. Do you know what I mean? It's like you wouldn't offer something like that and not actually honour it. But anyway, go on.
Yeah. Okay, so I went for it. The 6 months passed. You know, pretty much. I did do a little bit at the start. I think I did a bit of the how to focus stuff at the beginning, but basically I didn't follow through with it. 6 months passed, your emails kept coming. I was shoving them in a folder and basically following the old pattern, right? But then, yeah, somehow something changed early this year. Are you going to ask me what on earth changed?
Yeah, that is going to be my next question. I'm like, so what was it? What happened? I mean, I remember you said in the email that you posted on the forum, basically a kind of, you know, maybe a cry for help is probably a little too dramatic, but you know, a kind of what should I do type post.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it is too dramatic to call that a cry for help. You know, because by that point, I've pretty much given up. What I can say is, because as I mentioned, going back to '97, bought that system, telling people I'm a music producer working on songs when I really wasn't. truthfully, I wasn't. You know, and at some point in the last maybe couple of years, I just stopped saying that I'm a music producer. And I've been having this internal sort of dialogue with myself where I basically had even said, you never wanted to do this. If you really wanted to make music, you would have done that over the last 16 years. You never wanted to do this. You know, you just had it wrong, mate. You know, that was the dialogue, basically. No, what about those dreams, all that stuff you wrote in your journal? No, you didn't want to do that. You would have done it if you really wanted to. So I'd pretty much just given up on it. I mean, what happened when I posted on the forum, I was basically at the same time, I sent you an email asking that can we have that one-on-one Skype session that was included as part of the course. And you said, here you go, you can book it in. I'm off to Holland or something, but I'll come back and you can do it then. So basically what I was going to say in that one-on-one session was, for God's sake, is there any way you can help me? Because if you can help me, you can help anyone, mate. I must be the hardest case you've ever had out of anybody, you know. That's what was going to happen. But then I thought, after looking at your email, it's going to take a few weeks anyway. I thought, let's just introduce myself on the forum. I noticed that you do respond to people who do that. So I thought, look, how about we just see what he says? And you came in and said, forget everything. Forget about quality. Just do 10 minutes a day. Just turn your gear on and sit there for 10 minutes a day. Right. First of all, I was excited just to receive a reply so fast from you. And I just looked at it and thought, well, that's pretty simple, isn't it? You know. And then after you posted that, there was another guy, his name's John Citizen, and he uses the name Citizen on the forums. Yep. He said, it's exactly as Mike just said. It's that simple. And then he also asked me, were you at this seminar 18 months ago? Because I did this understanding of music seminar with him, which is run by Duncan Lorien, which I can't recommend that highly enough as well, for just breaking down the technical side of music theory. So I thought, I've got nothing to lose here. I'll just give this a go. I'll just do the 10 minutes a day. And I tried it. Within a few days, things shifted dramatically, actually. Within the first week, I started feeling different. And I churned out my first song within just a few days. Oh. To say that surprised me more than anyone else, you know, that's an understatement.
So when I told you to do that 10 minutes a day, and I basically just said turn on the computer, open up your DAW and sit there for 10 minutes, and that is your win. If you do that, then you've won, and then you can basically be happy with yourself. So did you just sit there for 10 minutes when you started doing that, or what happened exactly?
No, I didn't. Right, I turned on the gear. And I looked at this Ableton Push, which I'd bought. Of course, I bought that, you know, 6 months ago or whatever, and not used it basically. And I thought, why don't we just start jamming around on this, right? So I spent a few minutes and I thought, wow, this sounds all right. Let's press record. And I had the sort of basics of what I thought could be, you know, maybe could make this into a song. So I started playing around. I don't know how to really state the simplicity of this. I mean, it is so ridiculously simple and yet so incredibly powerful. What you said and what I did there is exactly what I wasn't doing for the past 16 years, right? And all the time, all these sort of unfulfilled hopes and dreams were building up, and inside of me, all this lack of belief was just getting worse. Why? All because of not doing such a simple thing, strangely enough. So within a few days, I just put that together, that initial jam on Push. I just put that together into a song within a few days. And then I thought, right, let's do another one. So no, that isn't what happened, even on the first day.
Yeah, I mean, it's about lowering the barrier of entry almost to yourself in many ways when you're in that kind of situation. Because as I've said time and time again, a lot of people make the mistake of trying to feel different in order to take action.
Yeah.
but that's not how it works. Obviously, if you feel like taking action, there's a great help. But if you don't feel different, the best way to feel different is to take action first, make that decision, and then everything else follows as a result, as you've experienced.
Yeah. Can I just say, like, I've just turned 40, and I think historically I've been a perfectionist, and to the extent that, you know, I overanalyze things and procrastinate and haven't done them. With music, I know that when I first bought this system in '97, and when I first had these aspirations, I know that I was always saying to myself all these years, I've got to come out with this big hit. I want to be this great big international artist. But it was always about, I'm going to make this one big track that's going to break through, or this amazing album. And I put a lot of pressure on myself. The first thing that with your post, that 10 minutes and forget about the quality, it just took all the pressure off. I think that was the key.
Right.
Immediately remove that pressure that I was putting on myself for the last 16 years. And I remember when I did this understanding of music seminar 18 months ago, that Duncan said, he basically said the same things that he said. He said that it isn't about one hit song, because I was doing all the things that he said not to do. He said, because I was basically, I had the song, came up with the song, wrote the lyrics. I thought, this is a hit in the making. This is going to be a great bunker tune, right? And all I could think about was, don't let anyone else get their hands on the lyrics of this song. Don't even let them see it, because it might get leaked. You know, I mean, I was even worried about getting a singer in to audition for it, because I thought, oh, well, he might nick off now and start telling people about this great song that I've come up with. And so what this guy, Duncan Lorien, said was, you should be writing hundreds of songs, mate. Learn how to do it fast, loads of quantity, and from quantity comes quality.
That's it, yeah.
And then I saw you saying exactly the same thing last year. And look, it just took the pressure off, you know.
I mean, one of the things I ask people when they have this belief, and it's a very common belief, it's an understandable belief as well about, you know, the one song. I say, if you take two producers with exactly the same skills, exactly the same equipment, exactly the same abilities, and one of them spends a year making one song, and the other one spends a year making 30 songs, which one is that one song going to be better than the 30th song? You know, the guy who's made the one song, is he going to be a better producer, or is the guy who's made 30 songs? And the fact of the matter is, I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? You know, who's going to be the better producer?
Right.
You know, it stands to reason, really. But a lot of people don't allow themselves to make bad stuff. The thing that allows them to move on is that it sounds as good as the stuff that they love, that is their legendary stuff. But that's never actually going to happen until you finish a lot of stuff that you don't like much first.
Right.
So in terms of so you basically you got going, right? Yeah. And then because I noticed in your email you also said that you've kind of gone back over the material that you didn't do the first time around. Has that kind of caused you to go back and look at the program and do some of the stuff in it?
Yeah. So what happened is basically at the beginning of February, I did two things together actually. So one was this understanding of music seminar that I'd done 18 months ago. There was a very simple 10 minutes of daily practice that you were supposed to do after that course, which I wasn't doing.
It's amazing. I mean, I don't know about this course, but it's amazing how many similar things there are.
Very similar. In fact, so just one other thing, because when we were talking about getting quality from quantity, the other aspect of that, which Duncan had mentioned, is that say if you have that one hit and it is a hit, the first thing the record labels or whatever are going to be asking you is, what else have you got?
Exactly.
So you need to be able to churn songs out quickly. You need to get into the habit of being able to produce songs fast. You know. But coming back to it, so I wasn't doing the 10 minutes daily practice after that seminar. So I started doing that beginning of February. I'd been doing it for about 4 or 5 days before I introduced myself on the forum. And then I added to that, so this has become my routine now. So I do that 10 minutes in the morning of piano, keyboard practice, theory of music and all that. And then I'll come into the studio and do my minimum 10 minutes of sitting here with the gear on, basically. Um, alongside that, I started doing the program as well. So in February, I would have done the first month without habits, was it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
First month's about
Right.
habits, yeah.
Yeah. Then I moved on to decisions, wasn't it? Next
Okay,
month.
yeah.
I actually think I took 2 months on decisions,
Okay.
which amazingly, some of the exercises in that have given me a lot of clarity in other areas of my life. And now I've got started on the next one, which is the building the momentum, which I think we've got that one rolling, mate, thankfully. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Finally, mate.
Yeah, I mean the month 3, the building momentum is where it starts to get. I mean, the thing is, I don't think you can do month 3 without having done month 1 and month 2, but month 3 is where it starts to get really interesting, because it's when you start to actually be able to kind of, to a certain extent, control. Maybe not control is the wrong word, but view your creative process in a way that allows you to have a greater measure of control over it than you did before. You kind of, and it sounds kind of mysterious, but it's hard to explain without actually doing it.
Yeah.
So how many tunes have you finished now?
I've done 7 now, and I'm on to my 8th tune. So this is within about 3 months, basically.
Brilliant. That's absolutely amazing. So I mean, what do you see in your future as a result?
Well, the first thing is, and I really feel very emotional inside, actually, just talking to you about this. The first thing is that this dream that I basically had given up on, and even started telling myself that dream wasn't real. Of releasing my music and if you like, becoming a big famous international artist. The first thing is, I believe that is possible again for me, but again, without applying unnecessary pressure on myself. Whether that happens or not is almost secondary to how I feel inside about myself and about my life in the last 3 months, and the dramatic change. I feel as though my whole life has actually changed in the last 3 months. In fact, it happened within the first week or two, Mike, of doing this daily practice. I just started feeling, first of all, I started seeing immediately that I can make music. I can do this by myself without anybody's help. I was just enjoying this, just the sheer excitement of the creative process, just the whole idea of creating a song out of nothing. Even from that first song, I listened to it, and it actually sounds all right. All of these tracks are actually nice tracks. I'm actually listening to them and enjoying them. But even after that first song, I thought, this didn't even exist. I just created this out of thin air, basically.
That's the amazing. When you start to do it, you're like, I'm literally creating. I mean, it sounds quite dramatic, but it's true. I'm literally creating my own future.
Yeah.
Where there was none before. That was the feeling I had when I started to finish music. It was like, I have the ability to make my own future by just making music out of thin air. That was exactly the feeling, and that's the kind of feeling I'm trying to help people get, because it's the most exhilarating feeling that there is, that I know of.
Yeah. So it's just pure exhilaration, really. And I think I really believe that underneath all this, there's this energy that was basically sitting there inside of me, building up over 16 years. Basically a real desire to express myself to the world through creating music, which, if you can imagine that not being expressed and building up for all those years, suddenly being freed, just incredible happiness. And then I found, even within the first 2 or 3 weeks, where I'd stopped saying I'm a music producer, so I dropped that line. So it was like, what do you do, Richie? I just said I'm a Bollywood DJ and entertainer. I dropped that line at some point in the last couple of years. And I went to, a favourite Chinese restaurant, and she asked me, this was only after 2 weeks, I think, she goes, what do you do, by the way, since you come here every week? And I said, I'm a Bollywood DJ and music maker. And she walked off, and I realised what I'd just said. I thought, well, wow. And I realised that I must have said this because subconsciously, how I see myself has all of a sudden changed. And I felt an incredible happiness just from the realisation that my identity has shifted.
Yeah.
But this time it's real. It's coming from within. I actually am making music. It's not telling people something which I wasn't doing.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the kind of truisms that I often say is like the only thing you have to do to be a music producer is produce music.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? All the rest
Good
of it
idea.
it's optional. But the only thing that is necessary is
Yeah.
to actually be producing music, and then you can say you're a music producer, and then it's like a virtuous circle because it starts because you see yourself as a music producer. It's easier to produce music. So,
Yeah.
I mean, can you like sort of fill out in what other way? Because I'm kind of interested to know what other ways this sort of this sudden producing all this music has positively affected sort of the other areas of your life.
Because if I'm honest, I think this is something that I've wanted. This is basically a dream of mine that I've wanted to do. I guess you can say since 1997 when I first had the thought. It was like the natural progression from my DJing to make my own music. So the first thing is that I'm actually realizing that dream now, and that the reason that's filtered into every other area of my life is first of all, I'm just much happier inside. You know, I think it was really affecting me in ways which maybe I didn't even realize. Because obviously, if you say to yourself, "I'm going to do something," and you don't do it, and you keep doing that over and over again over so many years, and that affects your belief and confidence, inevitably, I would say. But this has had the reverse effect. Now the belief and confidence has gone the other way. I not only realise that I can do it, but I actually am doing it. In the other areas of my life, I don't know. It's like you talk about the core habits. I remember when you say like there's usually this keystone. I think in some cases you said it can be meditation. But you said if you can fix that one thing, then sort of everything else will fall into place or run a lot smoother. And for me, I did know when I saw that for me it wasn't the meditation that would be that, it would be making music.
Making music, yeah. I mean, it's different for different people, but there's usually one specific action you can take on a daily basis, which it's the keystone habit that kind of everything else follows from.
Because I feel like this is who I am. I feel like in my heart and soul that I am basically I'm a musician, I'm a music maker, I'm a DJ. So this is who I am, and then to not have been expressing that for so long, and to suddenly be doing that, well, it has affected every other area of my life. The other thing I'd say is it's sort of shown me that if you can apply this in your music making, then potentially you can apply that 10 minutes a day, and anything becomes possible in all other areas of life. It's sort of, you talk about the brain a lot in your course. It's sort of opened my mind up to what is possible in my life. It's really sort of expanded my outlook on life and the world. I believe that what you're teaching here can be applied to any other area.
Yeah.
I will say I did try sort of adding into my calendar 10 minutes a day for all these other areas, and I noticed that what I've done is I do the music. That's become my must-do habit. But what I've noticed is then I'll stop looking at the calendar and not doing all of those. I think that's a case of just trying to do too much in one go.
That's it.
I'm really happy and just proud to say that I've done this now for 3 months. And I think maybe just one at a time is probably a good way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I do say is that certainly in terms of building habits that are supporting you, doing like trying to do 5 at the start. That's what a lot of people do. They sort of start the course and they're like, right, I'm gonna do this and this and this. And the thing is, it's kind of too much to take for your brain to take on board. What you're trying to do is lay solid foundations. So I do counsel kind of focusing on 1 or 2. So obviously, as this is the intention of this program, Start Now Finish Fast, is to get you to finish music. Obviously, making music is probably going to be one of them. Although it might not be. Some people have got great success by starting with meditation and then adding on. I mean, meditation isn't a requirement. It's just something that I do, which I suggest is it can be helpful. But I mean, just like exercise, things like that. But the doing one and doing the one that you think is going to make the biggest difference, which obviously to most people is going to be a daily habit of actually making music.
Right.
is the way to go. And there isn't really there's not a time limit on this. I mean, you've got the rest of your life, you know, but it's
Yeah.
and I mean, one thing I am interested in, because you've experienced this momentum for the last 3 months, and I don't, I don't want to jinx it or anything, but it's important I think to think about it and talk about it. Is how do you feel about when that momentum, you come up against a challenge, a creative challenge, when it's not flowing as well? I mean, how do you feel about that now as a result of what you've been learning?
Look, I can only talk about what I've experienced so far, but there have been days where I don't feel like going into the studio. And so what the key for me is I've kept it at that 10 minutes. So even though now what really happens is I spend most of my morning in the studio. I spend, 2 or 3 hours in the studio usually. But so what I found is there are definitely days where I just don't feel like it. Or I might just have other things that I need to do, or I have to run off to a gig which is on during the daytime. But I just keep with the 10 minutes. I just get in there and do that 10 minutes. So that's the first thing. And so what I found is that on the days where I don't feel like it, once I'm in there, that quickly changes within that first 10 minutes. The truth is, and it's strange, isn't it? Because I just totally did not feel in the mood for it. But within that first 10 minutes of just saying, look, go in there, spend the 10 minutes, turn the gear off and walk out if you like after that. But the feeling changes within that first 10 minutes. Dramatically, I usually just sit there at least half an hour after that. The other thing is, right now, this 8th track that I'm working on, this is the first track where everything's not sort of fallen into place. Because the other ones, they sort of seem to go really smoothly. So after doing the first 2 or 3 instrumentals, I moved into busting out the mic that had been sitting there all these years collecting dust.
Awesome.
The $2,000 mic, which needs a bit of use. That's good.
Excellent.
And started writing lyrics and singing, right? But it was all coming to me, right? It was like for weeks. It's almost like the ideas are coming quicker than I can express them, So
right.
It's like they're playing in my head. Just a basic melody will be playing, and then I develop it from there. So, but with this latest song, this was the first time where I had it playing in my head. But when I sort of tried putting it into the DAW, so basically I use Ableton's what do you call that? Where you can hum and then it converts it to the melody or harmony. Ableton introduced this feature basically last year. So I've been using that. This is the first time where I wasn't getting the right sound on the guitar. It just sounded wrong. And it was very off-putting for the first sort of 2 or 3 days. And I'm just pushing through that. It got to the point where I didn't feel like working on this track. So I started this track a few days ago. I'm not getting the sound that I want. And so I did suddenly experience my first roadblock, if you like, where I didn't even feel as enthusiastic about walking into the studio because it just doesn't sound right.
Yeah, right.
So my first thought was, well, why don't we dump this track and just move on to something else? So I quickly wrote in my journal, I'm not going to dump this track and move on to something else. I'm going to take as long as I like. There's no rush here, We don't have to slap a 1-week deadline in this. I'll take my time, seek some outside resources if necessary. So I've been working through this. Today, I actually had a bit of a shift where, I've got the guitar sounding a bit more like I want. And then my voice wasn't sounding right. I had a shift today where I thought, let's just double up the vocals, basically, take a couple of the takes, play them together. It's completely changed the sound of the vocals. Suddenly, it's sounding quite smooth,
Right.
So all I can say is I've just worked through them so far. I've just tried to push through them and persist.
That's it. Like. Well, I mean that's one of the things. I mean, the reason I brought it up, and as I said, I didn't want to jinx it or anything. Not that you can jinx it, but is
well, who knows, mate? I wouldn't say that either. Thank you very much. Take that statement back.
No, but
it's some wood, mate.
it's just one of those things where everything is temporary. Even the most stuck state, even the most 16 years of not feeling like you can't do anything is temporary. And similarly, an amazing run of momentum is also temporary because it's just the way things work. So, that's one of the reasons in the program, which I think you haven't got to the fear and the boredom months yet, because that, you know, that happens, can happen too, is that knowing that you are going to have those. It doesn't matter how what you understand about your brain. It doesn't matter if you're like a Jedi master and you know, and you've got ninja-like focus skills. You are going to have moments of when you're not feeling as creative, when it doesn't come out, when you are stuck, when you get stuck on a track, and knowing that that is part of the process, I think, is one of the things that I've noticed people are like so relieved to understand. You know, they're like, okay, it doesn't mean that I've totally lost the ability to write music for the rest of my life. Because when you start having those thoughts, what you're actually stressed about, you get stuck about being stuck. You're not so much just stuck anymore. You're stressing out about being stuck, which makes you more stuck. So just knowing that those things, those things are natural and it's okay. You can find it difficult, and you've just got to learn those skills to persist and keep going and still do your 10 minutes every day in the studio. But it sounds like you know that already. That's the kind of the reason I wanted to bring it up, because I just wanted to make sure that you weren't going to, you know, because that often happens is people join the program, they experience an enormous kind of creative outpouring for however long, and then they kind of hit some kind of thing, and then quite often will get an email or a post on the forum going, help, you know, what's happened? And I'm like, it's okay. It's totally normal. So it sounds like you're doing that, you know, without any sort of extra help, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Look, I mean, it's early days for me. It's been 3 months, right? So, I mean, this is the first sort of block I've come up against. So, well, I've pushed through this one so far. Can I just say, one of the things that really resonated with me right from the beginning of your course was when you spoke about what making music is. And specifically, you said that, you know, watching a tutorial is not making music, right? Thinking about this song and what might work or blah, blah, blah is not actually making music. Why this resonated, surprise, surprise, is this is what I was doing, apart from generally not actually going into the studio and sitting on the gear, but for 16 years, that was what I was doing. I was buying these tutorials, sometimes watching them, sometimes not, buying software, buying computer systems, buying gear. And I must admit that there was a real rush every time I do that, you know. There is a part of you that thinks you've done something.
That's true. That is absolutely true, yeah.
So, to be honest, it was the first time you actually knocked me on the head and said, that's not actually making music, you know. I don't think I quite got that before.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I do sometimes say is get a big piece of paper and print or write on big letters, unless I am finishing a track right now, I am procrastinating.
Right.
That philosophy, and now I know it's not strictly true, but even if it's not strictly true, it's a really good philosophy, it's a really good thing to think at any point in your process. Unless I am actually working towards finishing a track now, anything else is procrastinating. That has served me incredibly well throughout my career. That's how I finish so much music, because sometimes you do find yourself going down these things which are kind of indirectly going to maybe help you, and it's like, now hang on a minute, I need to finish music. You know, that's what I need to do. So.
Yeah. Well, look, if I talk about my own experience, Mike, those tutorials and all the rest of it have probably been a lot more of a procrastinator than they have been of help, you know. Yeah. And as the other thing you said, you don't even need those flipping tutorials in the first place. You don't need to learn about how to make music. You just need to flip and make some music. That's what you need to do, mate, and learn by doing. I mean, that's been the biggest light bulb for me, to actually learn by doing. And the incredible thing is how quickly I am learning. You know, every session, just by actually doing it, I'm learning rather than watching those tutorials.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's natural to assume that being taught, because there's both ways of learning. So there's learning by doing and there's learning by being taught. Okay, right. And it's a temptation to think, certainly, and this is not true of everything, but certainly in terms of making music, that being taught is a shortcut.
Right.
But actually, partly because you often get lost down the tutorial route anyway, but also even if you didn't, being taught something like music production, you're learning it intellectually. What you still need to learn it. Even doesn't matter how many times people tell you this is how to do it. You still need to learn it by kind of muscle memory. You need to learn it by doing it. So by cutting out that part of it, it's actually quicker to learn by doing. I mean, just the other day on the forum, a guy was like, I'm really, I'm being patient and learning by doing. I'm saying, well, if you are impatient, then do learn by doing, because that's the quickest way. That's the shortest route to the goal, basically, of becoming a great music producer. So, I mean, as I say all the time, I never did any tutorials or anything. And most of the, in fact, there wasn't such a thing when I started, and there wouldn't have been such a thing when you started as well, 16 years ago. But Andy Cato from Groove Armada, none of the people I've worked with did any kind of doing. They just did it, and I was just lucky to, I think, have been surrounded by people like that at the start, and that's how I sort of understood that was the best way to learn. So I'm just so happy. It's honestly getting an email like that, and now having the opportunity to speak to you in person, so to speak, is it really does make. Yeah, it's the reason I do it. Really, it's absolutely wonderful. So, do you have any of your music up online anywhere at the moment yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh yeah.
Where can people find out more about you? Because I'm sure there'll be some people who are interested to know what Richie Madan's up to.
Well, apart from just Googling, you get all this stuff comes up about me anyway. But I've got my website, richieMadan.com, which is RICHIMADAN.com. That will need to be updated soon with some of this music as well. So I just wanted to say about the tutorials, Mike. I actually found that they didn't even help. They actually made things seem more complex than they are. I have to say, I had this feeling from buying all these tutorials, watching them, buying all this gear, I just felt overwhelmed. The tutorials made it seem harder than it is, and then just buying all this stuff, I'd look at it and go, oh my God, where do I start? I don't know where to start. How to learn. Yeah, how to use all this stuff.
I mean, I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that when you learn by being taught, for at least the first period, however long that may be, months, years even, you're actually learning more about what you don't know than you are about what you do know. And the fact, it's a fact. The fact of the matter is, you do not need to know a lot to make great music. You know what I mean? You just don't. It's not. You don't need to know all that stuff in order to make a great track. It can help, but the best way is to start making music and then learn in the context of making music. So
I've just found that out now, mate. Thanks to you. It took a while.
Well,
I got back in the TARDIS and.
Well, it's never too late, as you know. I absolutely can't wait to see what you continue to do with it. You've still got 3 months to go in the program, so I'm sure you'll go from strength to strength. When you're ready, do post some of your music. I mean, I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. So can I just say another thing, maybe? Just that you said that you don't even need to do all these music production courses. You've got your ears, right? You know what good music sounds like. Yes. That is so true. And that really resonated with me a lot, that I've been DJing for 21 years and I've always known what a good tune sounds like, and even when I started my DJing, I didn't sit there studying how to DJ and do all these courses. I just went straight into it. I actually went straight into the club scene. I started the whole Bollywood and Bhangra scene just like that. I didn't even have all those technical skills. I learned my DJing through doing gigs, right? But I really can see that now from making these first few tunes. I find that I'm listening to them over and over again, and I know whether they sound good or not. And actually, funnily enough, they sound pretty good.
Well, there you go.
My first ever tracks, and they actually sound good. But where I've produced something that doesn't sound right, I know that straight away. So you're right. We've got our ears. That's the biggest thing of all. And another thing I've noticed, a friend of mine who's a Bollywood music producer. He's based in Mumbai. He's got all the training. He's studied music and all that. So he's very big into all these complex layers in his music. And what I've realized with my songs so far, they're very simple. There are a few layers, 2, 3, 4, whatever, but they sound good. That's the most important thing. And what I've realized listening to songs on the radio, listening now, I find I'm doing this now automatically, listening more carefully to all my favorite tunes. A lot of them are very simple, man.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of them are just 2, 3, 4 layers. It's about how it sounds at the end of the day. That is all that counts. It is not about counting how many tracks you've got in your door for this song, you know? It's irrelevant. How it sounds is all that counts.
No, I mean, sometimes you get that question, is like, how many tracks does it need to be when it's finished? I'm like, well, how, you know, 2 if it needs to be. I mean, if you're a guitar player and a vocalist, then, you know, guitar and a voice. It's not like a, you know, you tick it off. And I mean, a lot of the best music of all kinds is the simplest. It's sometimes it's a little bit of a it's like kind of a little bit of a barrier when people start to overcomplicate things, because it's almost like they're trying to prove that they're a brilliant producer by doing all of these complicated things, where really it's not. Yeah. That's not what great music is about. It's you know, when people say, oh, they make it look so easy, experts, they make, you know, in anything they make it look so easy, and that's the key. It's like it being simple and seeming like it's easy, but being absolutely brilliant. Yeah. So it's been absolutely fantastic to talk to you, Richie. As I said, I can't wait to see what you do. I want to see, I mean, I really do want to see you become that worldwide Bollywood superstar producer. Maybe producing music for a Bollywood film one day or something.
Sure.
I'm sure you'll do it now. So thank you very much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll see you on the forum.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Just from the bottom of my heart, mate, I just want to thank you for creating this course, for having the passion and the vision to run this, because you're changing lives. You have changed my life. I just want to thank you so much. I want to thank your community as well, because other videos of people and their experiences and the posts of their stories on the forum, that has helped keep me going. And it's sort of, you know, sparked little bits of me and kept me interested at the end of the day. Yeah. Bringing me up to this point. Thank you so much, you know, and whether I, you know, get to the releasing the album or whatever is almost secondary to me, to just the feeling of joy and happiness that I'm experiencing now, making music. And I actually think the success will follow inevitably, but it's about the happiness and it's just about the joy of making music. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, absolutely no problem. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Richie.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.